Welcome to GusTech. Look at the pretty colors. Today we're going to be looking at the Alienware R517. This is one of the newest models of Alienware laptops, and it is brand new for 2018 with the new Intel Kaby Lake processors. In fact, this one comes loaded with an i9 processor and a GTX 1080, and it's not a nerfed edition of the 1080, it is a full desktop version of a GTX 1080. This thing, all things said and done, is a friggin' beast. And it's got really pretty colors all over it. It's amazing. It's like this nice rainbow theme. In fact, we can even turn it up so it's really fast. It's great, you're gonna love it. Dell has gone all out on their latest series of Alienware laptops, and this is equipped, like I said previously, with an Intel i9 processor. It's the latest Kaby Lake hexa-core processor. It runs at just under 3 gigahertz stock, and it can be overclocked, at least what they say, up to 5 gigahertz. And in fact, Alienware has actually included software that allows you to, through software overclocking, do that right in the OS, right in Windows 10. And it actually runs pretty well. On top of that, like I said, it does have a GTX 1080, and it's a full GTX 1080 graphic card. It has 16 gigabytes of RAM, and it comes equipped with a couple of different storage options. The one that this one specifically is equipped with is both an SSD, a 250 gigabyte SSD, and a 1 terabyte hard drive. Alienware has also thrown in Tobii Core eye tracking software and hardware, which is actually pretty neat. So there's actually an infrared little bar down here at the bottom of the screen, the base of the screen, that will track your eye movement. It can unlock the computer when you walk up to it. It can also dim the computer when you're not looking at it. It's pretty cool. There's a lot of pretty neat technology that's been thrown in with that Tobii Core enhancement as far as the hardware is concerned. And what's nice is this screen, obviously Dell's made fantastic screens for years and years, but this comes shipped with the stock 1440p screen. You can get a 4K screen, although obviously it only goes up to 16 or 60 hertz. The 1440p screen goes up to 144 hertz. It's a fantastic panel. In fact, it's probably one of the best ones that you can buy in a laptop. It comes with G-Sync enabled automatically from the factory. Again, that also ties to your GTX 1080. And you're probably not going to have very many issues with frame rates on this beastly of a laptop. But obviously, if you have games that are going to push the boundaries of what it's capable of, that G-Sync is going to be nice to avoid any screen tearing or any issues that you're going to have while gaming. One other thing it does have, a power supply that is like bigger than one that you might find in a desktop. This thing is gigantic. It by itself weighs a couple of pounds. So that's cool. And the cord is like super freaking thick. One thing you'll notice when you pull this thing out of the box is it feels incredibly premium. There's a nice matte finish to everything, so it avoids fingerprints, and it might get a little bit oily, so you might want to wash your hands after you eat your Cheetos or after you watch videos on YouTube, GusTech only, we know that. When you're gaming, as you can see that we have a Heaven benchmark running here in the background, the fans do start to kick up, and you can definitely, when you're behind the computer, you can feel a ton of heat dissipation coming out the back. I mean, it is like fighter jets just pushing air. But up front, it's nice and cool. You can feel right by the trackpad, the keyboard, it all stays really cool. Especially for a laptop that's pushing this kind of power through it. So Dell has done an amazing job. They've even upgraded the cooling system with what they call a vapor cooling system. So if you know what that means, great. If you don't, who cares? It's probably pretty cool. And the fact is, your computer's not going to overheat. And like I said, you even have overclock settings from the factory that come preloaded on this thing. You literally just click it to enable your overclocking, and you're good to go. You will want to make sure the laptop's well ventilated if you ever do that, but overall, it's a pretty good experience. Obviously, this is loaded with speakers that are laptop speakers, and everyone tries to talk about how their laptop speakers are getting better and they're more improved, but they're laptop speakers, so they're not very good. These ones are actually fairly good as far as what they can carry in terms of bass, just in the size and the package that you have. But again, you're probably going to want to use headphones. let's talk about the ports for your headphones and other devices. So on the right side of the laptop, as you're oriented, you can see that there's just one super speed USB 3.1 connection. On the other side of the laptop, you have a lot of input and output, including a microphone and headphone jack. You also have your Super Speed 3.0 on the USB Type-C, as well as another Super Speed 3.0 or 3.1 port. On the back of the computer, you do have an Ethernet port, which is fantastic. We love that when it's in a laptop, especially a gaming laptop, because obviously you have much better fidelity in your connection with an Ethernet port. So you can plug that in if it's going to be a desktop replacement for you, which I don't know why you would have a desktop if you own this thing, because it's freaking ridiculous. Additionally, on the back, there is a Lightning port and HDMI and display port as well. So this can obviously feed multiple monitors. It can feed multiple outputs for your displays, which again, when you're running a desktop that is this powerful, that is not just, you know, hey, I'm gonna go take this and, you know, play on Facebook and, you know, play Candy Crush on my MacBook Pro while I'm in college. No, this thing will drive pretty much any video game you can think of, and it's a fantastic workstation if you're doing any other, you know, intensive tasks such as architecture, such as, you know, Photoshop, you're doing any video editing. This thing's gonna definitely be able to power it and push the necessary horsepower to make sure that those jobs get done easily. So obviously this is a 17-inch screen, 17.3-inch screen. It does come with a 10 key. The keyboard obviously is a regular full-size keyboard. It has 5 macro keys, and you know, there's quite a bit of space when you're using it, but it's way bigger than just its 17-inch screen profile would have you believe. In fact, if you compare it to a beautiful, really dumb, I'm just kidding, great MacBook Pro, you can see, I mean, the thickness is like a ridiculous difference. This thing, this is just a regular MacBook Pro. It's not the MacBook Air or anything. It's like super thin. And from a design standpoint, the MacBook is way lighter. It is way thinner. It's all aluminum bodied, obviously. But that's not what you're looking for when you're getting a gaming laptop. So for comparison's sake, you can kind of see how this is not really the most portable thing in the world, and you may not want to be, you know, lugging this thing around to your classes and board meetings, unless of course you want everyone to see the beautiful RGB lighting, which is very beautiful, and they might be impressed. But this is a desktop replacement, and it is big and hefty, and it's supposed to be in one spot, unless you're trying to take it maybe on, you know, going in a hotel or on a work trip, or maybe you're going over to your friend's house for a LAN party or something like that. It's supposed to be set up and left alone in its position and kind of stay there. It's not ultra portable like a MacBook Pro, which, you know, this is. So, you know, woo, just like a Frisbee, you know, just toss it. Woo! I'm just kidding. Would never do that to Macintosh, Apples, whatever. Okay, so going to the design aesthetic, yes, it is huge and bulky, but when you're using it, it doesn't actually feel that huge and bulky. Dell's done a good job at making some of the angles kind of curve in down here. This is the intake, so it actually is kind of cool, has air running underneath you. But you won't want to block these ports here. You also don't want to block anything on the sides that's more intake for airflow. This thing is airflow like super dependent. But Dell's done a good job of making it also look really good while getting that good airflow. So if we look at the design overall, it is big, it is a little bit lunky, but what I love is that it doesn't feel like you're using a laptop, right? For years and years, laptops have had these terrible, awful chiclet keys, and these are still not the best keys on a keyboard. I mean, it's not going to compare to, you know, something that you'd get from Ducky or whatever, but it is a great keyboard, and it does have a fair amount of key travel, more than I was expecting, to be frank, on a chiclet style keyboard. So I actually really like how this thing feels, and if you don't want to lug around a big mechanical keyboard when you're using what's supposed to be a somewhat portable machine, you can get by just fine using the regular keyboard. The trackpad's really small. Like, it actually looks almost comically small on the laptop itself, and it's placed kind of right in the middle of the keyboard, so it would kind of impede if you're trying to use the trackpad to play Counter-Strike. And you're an idiot if you do that. So don't be an idiot. But if you're just using it for everyday use, it is a little small, especially when you compare it to something like in the MacBook or in Surface. But it works really well. It's very responsive. It lights up too, which is great. We love the colors. And the buttons, the actual trackpad buttons on the bottom, I'm surprised they feel really good, which is surprising because most of those feel like you're doing a really hard click and you're gonna like break the laptop, or they feel like there's no pressure at all. But these actually, you can tell that Dell has put years and years and years and years of development and research into improving the overall design of their Alienware laptops. And like I said, #1 greatest feature, definitely these changing lights. I can't get enough of it. It's just, it gets me all sorts of like, woo, you know, it's like I'm at a party. So you're gonna love it. Let's take this bad boy apart. One thing that I've always hated about gaming laptops in general is how incredibly difficult they are to take apart. So this guy comes with 7 screws that you have to take apart to access the underbelly of it, and that will allow you to get into the internals such as the RAM, the SSD if you want to replace that, the hard drive. I recall a very not fun time in my life when I had the original ROG laptop from Asus. I think it was the G73 or something similar to that. That guy, we had 50 screws out of that laptop at one point when we were trying to replace some of the cooling thermal paste on one of the coolers. So that was pain. Didn't like that at all. So while this laptop is, yes, very expensive for the i9 version, you can get the i7 version of this laptop for much cheaper. In fact, it'll go down to, I believe, about $1,600 or $1,700 if you get a lower quality or a lower grade, not lower quality, but a lower grade graphic card such as a 1060. So this, you know, while it is a very high barrier for entry, it is referring to the most premium version of this laptop that you can get. That's what the high barrier is. So let's get this guy open and get into the underbelly of the beast. So as you can see, with a little bit of love, and you don't want to, you know, break anything, so be a little bit careful. You can get to everything down in here. You have your RAM slots down here. You have your PCI SSD, or excuse me, not PCI, this is M2, M.2, 2.5, whatever you want to call it. I'm just saying random words at this point, but it is a type of thing that you use. You can access your cooling fans, the inside of them, so you can clean them out. You can see the heat pipes in here. You can add another PCI Express SSD into either of these slots. And you can see also there's a nice little subwoofer, you know, boom, 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 boom. It's not really that nice, but that's okay. And it's got this weird thing right here where it seems like another language, and it's just weird. Does also have access to your hard drive. So again, as far as repairability, Dell has actually done gamers, I think, a very good, you know, very good nod in the fact that you can repair this thing pretty easily because it's so easy to open up the entirety of the laptop, access the keyboard, access all the other junk from the internal standpoint. And I think that's pretty neat about this laptop because you do not find that very commonly. It's also really nicely labeled. Like, I've never seen a laptop that has this many labels that I can easily identify certain things. It's pretty cool. They are expecting you to take this thing apart. And again, it's just 7 screws. That's it. That's all you need to do to get into the belly of the beast. So from the factory, I actually really appreciate that Dell got rid of pretty much all the bloatware that has bogged and plagued the laptop market for years and years. And in fact, It comes with the Alienware dashboard, their primary software that you have. It has their Alienware FX. It has, which controls the RGB, which is going really fast right now because we're freaking partying right now. Ooh, get so stoked when I'm doing it. And there's also, it controls, the eye tracking software is obviously included, which again, you can actually use that in some games. You can actually see where your eye's going when you're playing the video game, which, I mean, that's kind of cool, but really the best part is that it just unlocks when you look at your screen, and that's pretty neat. When we're talking about the ports on a laptop this big, I am a little disappointed. They're not bad. It does have a couple of USB 3.1 ports. It does have a USB Type-C connection. It also has a Thunderbolt connectivity, so you can attach that to an eGPU setup or something similar. What I don't love is that there's just not really a lot. I mean, this is a desktop replacement in the truest sense, and it feels like you're kind of limited for your input-output. Now, obviously, it'll work with your keyboard, it'll work with your mouse, but if you have a keyboard, like a mechanical keyboard that has two USB ports for some reason, Corsair, not throwing any dirt or anything, but why do you do that? It's not going to fit anywhere on this laptop, which is kind of annoying. So there are some drawbacks there for the ports that they do have. What they did include, though, that I really love is they have a graphics amplifier port. Now this is, it sounds really fancy, but really what it is you can buy a separate shroud for an Alienware device, and that shroud can hold up to 2 desktop graphic cards. So you can throw in 2 more GTX 1080s. And with those, it also includes 4 more USB Type 3 or USB 3.0 ports. So it improves your input-output of your computer. But again, that's like a whole nother shroud that would, sit on your desk like, holding 2 different graphic cards. So it's cool, but it's expensive, and it feels like the ports were a little bit of an afterthought. The other thing is, like, why doesn't this have an SD card reader? Like, what year is it, right? Like, come on, my phone has a micro SD card reader. Why doesn't this have it? I feel like that was a little bit of an oversight, and I understand this is made for gamers, but it is kind of annoying that if you want to really get good connectivity, you have to plug in additional items, which is really one of the big selling points to having a Windows PC over a Mac, is that a Mac you have to dongle everything. But this, you do have to have a couple of dongles to make sure that if you're going to have an SD card reader or something similar, you have to have a separate piece to actually handle it. One thing that you are not going to find in another gaming laptop, as opposed to what Alienware has done in this specific series, is a battery that this one is just under 100 watt hours, whereas most of the market is doing right about 65 to 70. So they're smaller batteries, and again, you're not going to use this for its battery, but usually you're only going to get a couple hours out of those other laptops, even if you're running everything on low settings. This will get you a 1 or 2 more hour lifespan if you turn everything down, so you're probably going to be able to use it with its battery engaged and not having to carry around the gigantic power cord. All in all, though, even though it's a little bit heavy, it's a little bit bulky, this serves its purpose better than most other gaming laptops that I've seen. You can tell that Dell has put a lot of work into the Alienware lineup, and yes, you are paying some small premium for the fact that it has a brand name like Alienware, even though it's their computer, so everybody's brand name doesn't really matter. But the design quality and the level of support that you get when you buy something like this from Dell is really quite a bit better than something equivalent you'd get from MSI or from Razer or from Asus, right? So that's why we think it's a pretty good value for what it is. If you want a laptop that is something you can take pretty much anywhere in the world, it has a fantastic Wi-Fi connection, it has great, for the most part, pretty good ports, it has a great aesthetic, and it feels good when you're actually using it. The touch and feel is very solid construction, and it runs like a desktop. This thing is jamming. That's a pretty specific market segment, though. So if you are looking for a great computer that you're going to have in your parents' basements, and you're going to eat a lot of Cheetos, and you're going to drink a lot of Mountain Dew, and you're going to watch a lot of videos online, only Gus Tech on YouTube, because you don't go to any other video websites, we know that. then you probably don't want something like this. But like I said, if you're a gamer that wants to have something that's mobile, you can take around with you if you're traveling, this thing is freaking legit. And it's more legit with the fact that you have a shroud that you can put additional graphic cards into if you choose to buy that and upgrade, so you don't have to replace the entire, like $3,500 machine. Oh my gosh, it's really expensive. But you don't have to replace the whole thing. When the graphics card starts to age a little bit, you can literally just plug in external GPUs, desktop GPUs into this shroud, and you'd be good to go. I mean, you're running an i9 hexa-core processor that can overclock to 5 gigahertz. I mean, the thing's probably not going out of style anytime soon. So with all of those things considered, I can recommend this if you fit that specific mold. However, if you think that you're not going to want something that weighs, 10, 15 pounds, if you include, not 15, but like 12 pounds, if you include the power supply, probably not right for you. You probably want something that's more ultra portable. That's what Dell has done a great job of, though, is making this perfect for you guys, the gamers, gaming it, okay? I'm rambling at this point, so I don't know what I'm doing. So here's the big question. Do you have $3,500 starting and the desire to have the best, at least from what we've reviewed at this point, best gaming laptop on the market with some of the best support and completely out-of-the-box functionality? You open this thing up, you turn it on, you install Firefox or Chrome, and you get rid of Edge, and you are running. This thing's ready to go. If that's what you are looking for, an out-of-the-box experience where you literally just need a mouse, this thing is ready to go. It's fully loaded, and we highly recommend it. It's fantastic. And when you account for the fact that it has a great screen, great keyboard, great overall aesthetic with the specs they've shoved into this thing, it feels as premium as the price tag, which is rare with a gaming laptop. If that's what you're looking for, buy this sucker and make all your friends drool and be jealous, and it's fantastic. You're gonna love it. Obviously, as always, links in the description to all of the equipment and all of the fantastic things we use to shoot all these videos for you guys. And there will be a link, obviously, to this laptop as well. And if you would like to leave a comment below, don't, because we don't want to hear from you ever. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Do leave a comment, like, subscribe, share the video with your aunt and uncle and with your, little sister, and tell her this is a great thing to use for college. We love you. We are Gus Tech, and we'll see you next time.